Well, appreciate everyone joining us today on the PHNX
The sigh is how we all feel when we see Max wearing a Spurs shirt.
Yeah,
again.
it's all right. It's the welcome everyone to the PHNX Rising podcast. We appreciate everyone joining us. It's saw it in the thumbnail, kind of alluded to it. It's the end of an era. It's it's time. Got to pour one out for one of the greatest players that had the pleasure of watching. Harry Kane, baby. That's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, that penalty.
No,
He blasted
don't
over
ruin
the
it.
crossbar.
Don't ruin this.
It's still rising.
Don't you?
It's still on the way up.
No, that's not the Rising
Unlike
connection.
Tottenham Hotspur.
That's not. No, I don't. This is a beautiful kit. For those of you who are watching on video, you know it is.
It's
nice.
a great kit to lose in.
Oh, my gosh.
Here we go. Lift the trophy. We have a nice kit sometimes. Trophy.
No,
It's the only one you guys ever get.
my heart has just been stunned. Champions League finalist. First off,
That's not a trophy.
You put it in the rafters. Lift that banner, baby. Oh gosh, yes, no, but we do have a lot to talk about today. Appreciate everyone joining us. Man, we're gonna talk a little bit about upcoming matchup against El Paso. A bit.
The medal is not a trophy, to be clear.
Fair enough. A little bit of a matchup upcoming against El Paso, a little bit of San Antonio updates, and definitely I'll talk about it a bit further, but the rumor mill is going around Kevon Lambert, possibly end of an era in a Rising kit, but we will get to that. Let's start off right. Let's talk about El Paso. It's going to be a team Rising facing on Saturday. Interesting matchup for sure.
Interesting's one way of putting it.
I would say that because El Paso, right, we've seen them at times this season. They were near the top of the table at one point. They were riding a match unbeaten streak, and then they have flopped horribly over the last couple months.
Oh yeah.
Putting it lightly.
It's been, by the time that this game is played, it will be close to 2 months at that point since El Paso won a game. Short of a couple of days.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, winless in their last 8 matches, 0 wins, 3 draws, 5 losses. Thank you to Stat Lackey Reese. Over their goal differential of -11, 6 goals for 17 goals conceded in those 8 matches. It's a little over 2 per match. Not great there. Again, started season 9 wins, 2 draws, 3 losses. Very good stretch. But just a team where they have faced a lot of inconsistencies on their end, and they're going to be without their manager.
Indeed, Brian Clahout sent off in the last game, so he'll be expected to miss this one. Suspended, of course, but they've been so strange. I mean, I don't know quite how to describe it. It's just weird. I mean, there's inconsistencies, and then there's falling off of a cliff, and they've chosen the latter. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
Again, they felt like they were doing so well for a while. I mean, you look at some of the results they had beating in Birmingham Legion. Yeah, there were some weak teams in there as well, of course. That helps. That always helps. Getting a win, though, away to San Diego. Beating Pittsburgh Riverhounds. Yeah, some of these games were all right. They drew against San Antonio away from home. I know Phoenix did that as well, but that's still impressive. That's still a decent result. And then you look at what they've done since then. And you've got games like losing to RGV 5-2, losing to Miami 4-0, losing to Oakland 3-1. In fact, those last 3 games, they have conceded a combined 12 goals.
Not great.
In 3 games.
Not a great
12
average.
goals in 3 games.
I mean, if you just talk about the last 2, 9 goals.
Diamondbacks of USL Championship, Jet says.
Gosh.
I wish that wasn't the case.
Oh, gosh.
But he's not wrong.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, that's that's
he's
something.
not really
That's
wrong.
Yeah, man, it's gonna be a weird one for sure. Actually, Reese with some nice digs as well. Conceded 1 goal in the final 15 minutes of the first half during this recent bad stretch for them, and they conceded 4 goals in the final 15 minutes of the second half during this run as well. Conceded 9 goals in the final 15 minutes throughout the second half of this entire season. It's something where Rising can penetrate late. They very much can.
A lot of that came in that last game against Miami. Though.
No, for sure. But it's something where I think it's kind of an interesting one, right? Where it's saying that El Paso has a penchant for giving up late goals. Rising They've had a couple where they, draw, go back in the dying moments of matches, apparently in the last month, but Rising seem to do better when they score early. So kind of a rock and a hard place there.
Indeed. I mean, you actually look at some of the stats from that last game. El Paso generated 0.43 XG. That's bad. That is not good.
That's less than a goal.
Just a little bit less than a goal, just a little bit less.
Not a math major, but that's what we got here.
There's a lot of things that you're not, Max. There's a lot of things that you're not.
That's okay. I am a guy who does read the chats.
He does read.
Appreciate everyone out there going, man. Pat,
Don't worry
who let
about
Maddox outside with that? Great kid over there. Tori, appreciate you joining us. LO will actually pour one out for Lambert. Let's see.
No, I pour one out for Max. Oh,
dear gosh. And then Pat, Lambert, Rising, Goat. Yes, we were going to get to all of that, but appreciate everyone joining us again in tonight's pod. Yeah, man, I don't know. It's something where, is this matchup more indicative? Because we think that El Paso, weakened opponent, on a poor run of form. Rising not on a super hot form as well. I always hate asking this question, but it's like, do you think we're going to take advantage of Rising stringing, let's call it 2 recent performances in a row that are pretty good, Monterey Bay and San Antonio, despite the result? Or is this going to be Rising to take advantage of just a bad opponent? Which one do you think weighs more heavily?
It's interesting because we've actually seen Rising crumble in some of these moments actually earlier in the season. You've seen them take on teams that are in a bad run of form and you say, okay, you can add to this. You can beat them up a little bit. Other people are doing it. And then they don't. They lose. We saw that perfect example of that with Sacramento. Sacramento were in an awful slump of form. And then Rising go up there and lose 4-0. It's not been great. I think, look, from Rising's perspective, it's about working out how to come back from what was a pretty rough end to that last game. The boys were down, expectedly so, after that game. Of course, all the talk out of training today is that their spirits are in a much better place. They understand by now more about what they did that game, the fact that they put up a good fight. And they have to focus, though, looking forward. They have to focus on these games coming up because there are some really important games coming up. You look at Phoenix's fixture list now, and there's not that many games left. And you look at everyone around, and it's very, very kind of weak in the areas around them. I mean, it's everyone is so close that Rising could right now finish 4th, or they could finish 10th.
It's terrifying.
And it's hard to predict where in that mix they're actually going to end up. But this game is huge for Rising, I think, in terms of just, you've got 2 games on the road following this one up. Now, you do have more games overall at home than away still left to play, but you've got to leave this little stretch of home games with a good result. You can't leave with, I think, 1 point out of 2 games at home. That's not great at all. You've got to be going into this one. Look, Juan hasn't described it as a must-win in the same way that he described Monterey Bay as a must-win. To me, this game is must-win. I'm saying it now. I think this game is must-win. For Phoenix Rising, you have to get that bit of positive momentum, keep it going. Because if you are not on form going away to RGV, you will struggle. If you are still struggling for form, you go to Vegas, there is a risk that they upset you. Low risk, but risk. We saw it happen at home. We saw Rising drop points in that game, losing to Vegas for a while. That was Vegas' only win of the season. We saw that happen earlier this year. For Phoenix Rising, you have to take advantage of this moment. Because if they get now to the point whereby, say over these next few games, they draw, say, against El Paso, even if they draw all 3 of the next games, there's 3 points from 3 games going to be enough. You've got to really build, and you've got to take advantage of it. Now, you've really got to get those points in the bag. Because again, everyone else around you is close, yes. But that may or may not stay the same. You can't rely on others' failure for your own success.
Ooh. Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I think this, in a way, right, and this is a matter of one game, but even you kind of take back we're kind of like harkening back, in a way, to the attitude of when we had that hey, 3, we won 9 points from 3 matches, that stretch of, what was Hartford, Orange County, and Miami, right? Win. Then you go to Miami, and it was a tough loss filled with errors, filled with a seemingly slow start from the offense that I guess picked up towards the end of the first half, but then stalled out in the second. All this to say, these situations aren't necessarily like for like. We're at a different point in the season where it's later on and, Rising is in 8th place. They are in a playoff position, or they're at least near one throughout the season. But the thing is here, it's tough because you don't want to be in the spot you were last season where you are looking up and you are now hoping people drop games, where you're not necessarily controlling your own destiny. And that is kind of the danger of where this team could go. I don't know if I'm quite at the point where you're going to say this is a must win, but I will say if...
No, it is.
Your opinion. If they...
It is.
We can do this all day. We can do this all day.
Max.
We can do this all day. If they drop points, they're not theoretically out or anything like that, but it does make it a lot more tough, and especially when you are then going on the road in a couple matches coming up, and you're playing like opponents in a lot of ways. It's tough, man. It's tough.
Well, it's must win because of the momentum. That's it.
That's
the
true.
result of this individual game doesn't necessarily matter, but it's the fact that the momentum you need going forward out of this game. I think you have to win. I think if you are Phoenix Rising, you have to win. You are taking some real stick in the chat for that top, Max.
They just, man.
You're really taking some.
They think this is a bad color. I think jealousy is a bad color on the chat. I'm just being honest there.
And yet that top is somehow still worse.
Man, this is gorgeous. Reese literally said before.
Gorgeous.
He
It
said
looks
we
like
went.
someone threw up on a white t-shirt.
He said before we went on, it's a great kit. He just didn't like the badge, and I respect it. That's his opinion.
It's not a great kit.
It's a great kit.
It's not a great
nice
kit. It comes from the school of anyone who's like, I don't like templates, so if I make something ugly, maybe that'll be better.
What the?
It's not a good kit.
Dude,
it's not a good kit.
Oh, just because purple's not your color?
No, but what the hell is all that pattern to it?
I'm not a kit designer. It's nice.
It's
nice.
weird. It's
nice.
bad.
It's
People
not.
I think it goes hard.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Shane.
You're welcome.
To be fair, though, Shane bets on preseason NFL
Don't stoop low like
no,
that.
he can stoop as low as he wants.
Exactly.
That's what he
Stoop
does.
as low as he wants.
It's what I see. Reese, good kit without the badge.
But let's get back to El Paso, actually, and talk a little bit about what they are, what they're doing lately. I mean, they've been poor, but one thing that's interesting there is the way that they kind of link up a little bit on the right-hand side. I think that's something that is interesting to watch. I know that obviously you've got Dennis Kostishin, if you've got Mark Navarro, they kind of link up quite well on that right-hand side. It'll be interesting to see what comes out of that. Kostishin, of course, is currently leading them in chances created. So having to watch out on that side, see what they're doing over there, make sure that you're tracking them properly, you're covering them properly, and that Rising defensively are holding their shape in those kind of positions is very important. Luis Solignac, at the moment, leading the line for El Paso. He leads them in goals at the moment. And they've had a couple of moves, of course. One of their players departing this week, heading back on home to Hungary. But overall, it's they're in a bit of a hole. They're in a real bit of a hole right now, and they've got to try and work out a way of getting out of it. I think that by and large, how people have described it is you sometimes just look at them and feel like they look a bit like a team that's given up.
Oh, not great.
Which then raises questions, right? Because they're still in a playoff spot. It's not like they were... Look, if Vegas looked like a team that had given up, I'd understand it.
Yeah.
They're dead men at the moment at the bottom of this conference.
Sure.
But you look at the other teams in here, and I don't see why El Paso would look that way. I'm intrigued what is causing it. I'm intrigued what is ultimately behind some of the issues that they're having at the moment. I think we'll have to wait and see for a little bit more of that, and we'll have to see what kind of a team they look like when they come to Phoenix. But they're struggling right now, and it's not good for them at all.
Yeah.
I think that, again, it's stuff that normally little things, there are things that you can fix. You look at those elements, you can't really fix a team that looks always like they're falling off a cliff because of some of the things that El Paso seem to have going on. But again, I don't know. We'll see. This league is unpredictable. I am borderline, I've said this several times, the league is unpredictable to the extent that sometimes it's just not worth making predictions about it anymore.
It's really...
Because every time you expect something to happen a certain way... Opposite will happen.
Often.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with Tyler, just getting to the playoffs, right? That's the name of the game. Like, listen, with this team, Rising has had aspirations. They said it on record, publicly, at events, that their aim is not just to get into the playoffs, not just to make some noise, but they want to be top of the West. They really want it, that top 4 spot. And it's something where, listen, aim your ambitions high. It's certainly not out of the realm of possibility within this season, but it is it's a cliche, but like once you're in, and seeing especially how this league has gone this year, especially if you catch a team who maybe has a bad run of form, or maybe there are a couple upsets at the top and maybe the order shifts a bit, just get into the playoffs. And I'm not saying you want to ride the 8th seed or anything like that, but you want to be able to at least punch your ticket and go in there. And Rising's in a good position to do so. Again, that's kind of why I don't lean towards the must win, but I do get this a very important performance that the team has had 2 good performances. Result hasn't shown in one of them. Want to show it tonight, on Saturday, and we go from there. But you say El Paso, right? Definitely a bit of a topsy-turvy club. We've read the stats, right, where kind of all over the place. They're conceding goals. They're kind of leaking goals for fun in a lot of ways. Where do you think Rising can take advantage, and what players do you like?
Oh, from Phoenix Rising's perspective, I think it's going to be an interesting one for Danny Trejo to step up. We've seen the way that he's been scoring in recent weeks. The fact that he is very, very quietly, in some ways, catching up on Manuel Arteaga. In fact, the goal, he's caught up with him.
Yeah.
With another goal.
Yeah.
So I'm intrigued to see what he can do here. I'm especially intrigued because, again, it's going to be in a slightly different kind of forward line than we're used to seeing now. Of course, you've not got Manuel Arteaga available. He has been suspended for 1 match by the league as a result of his violent conduct red card last week. And that's going to probably mean that Darius Formella comes in, but I wouldn't guarantee it. I don't know. We'll see. We'll have to see on that one. But I think that he's someone who, again, you utilize him correctly, you let him get into positions where he can find his way in behind lines, he can find that kind of space. He's going to make him pay. We've seen it happen time and time again. You find a way of getting that ball through for him, and he's got the space, the time, the ability to get up with the goalkeeper, go one-on-one, and when he gets one-on-one, he's tucking that ball away.
Bang.
He's not missing.
No.
He's not missing that.
No. And especially, right, you add a Formella to that piece, you see Panos continuing to play make, even Carlos Harvey with the deep assist for the goal to Danny Trejo in the last match against San Antonio. Listen, this team has pieces. Like, it's never a question of that. You just want to see things click, and hopefully El Paso, they can get off the rails a bit, locomotives, you know what I mean?
That's awful, right? On that note, just to shut him up for a little while, let's have a listen to what Juan Guerra had to say about El Paso as he was speaking a little bit about perhaps their strength on the right-hand side and just what he's expecting to see out of them.
Yeah, well, absolutely. At the end of the day, you have to make sure that you can counter and you can protect yourself from their strengths, and their right side of the field is definitely one of those. But also it's how can then we counter and also hurt them in the spots that they're weak. Like I said, they're a very good team. We have them at home. We have to be the ones that are the aggressors. We have to be the ones that control the game. We have to be the ones that go forward. And I also want to see what's going to be their behavior. Is it going to be like Oakland? Is it going to be like Colorado, that they sat in a very low block? Is it going to be like San Antonio, that they started man marking very high up the field? I want to see what's the behavior that they're going to adopt when they come over here, and then it's up to us to be able to do what we need to do to get a result.
I mean, yeah, man, it's like you keep on saying, you just call it a must win. It's about getting that result. It's about exploiting the weaknesses where we need to. See Gulliman's Pat comment as well. Be nice to see Formella ball out. Rising needs to find someone other than Trejo or Arteaga that could be a consistent threat. And I think, kind of alluding to Juan's comments, that seems to be where I think this team just needs to look for more consistency. I love that there's multiple playmakers and you don't want to just be kind of saddled with one guy. Even if Arteaga was in the Golden Boot race, even if Danny Trejo is catching him, you want to be able to be multidimensional in your attack.
Indeed you do. And look, it's important because as Juan even says there, you don't know quite what El Paso is going to come out and try and do. They've had some different approaches in recent weeks. You're not quite sure which of those they're going to choose to go with. Personally, I'd anticipate that we're more likely to see maybe sit back a little bit because of how Rising play, because of the willingness to be slower on the ball and take more time in the build-up. You don't need to necessarily get into those kind of... you don't have to press and perhaps open up space for Rising to try and play through you. Because what we've seen is that Rising often, their better chances come from those moments in it's quicker transitional on times, even though often they play slower football. It'll be interesting to see. There's a lot of ways that this game could go, and part of it, I think, is going to come down to how well Rising adjust once they see what El Paso are putting out there. Again, you got those question marks over it at the moment. We're just going to have to see.
100%. I do want to make sure. Got to get a score prediction out of you. And chat, please chime in as well. Score predictions. well, it's a horrible medium for those of you who are
I know it is.
listening
You
on audio.
can read it for them.
You've got to be
Max.
kidding me. All right,
What
so
did I predict, Max?
it looks like a 3-1 El Paso.
No, Phoenix.
Oh,
you
you
liar.
didn't. Oh, I'm sorry. You didn't say any words.
You already
what am
know
I
it,
supposed
though,
to do?
Max. I told you this earlier.
Don't recall. Sorry.
There
Just
we
so
are.
forgetful.
3-1 to Phoenix Rising is what I'm going
Who's
with. I think that
Of
ultimately
course.
a struggle will continue for El Paso. They are really, really not doing great at the moment. It's a great opportunity for Rising to continue to pile on the misery. I've already gone with this for you. I've told you who I think is going to score. Who did I go with again?
I don't know, man. It's came out of your mouth.
Formella gets his first goal in Rising colours. I think Danny Trejo will find the back of the net. And give another one. I'm going to go John Stenberg.
Interesting. Okay.
It's an interesting one, I think, maybe. Let's go for
Okay.
it.
3. Okay. I got.
We know he can take a set piece as well.
Yes, he can. Let's see. 3-0 for Reese. We got an own goal. I love the chaos. Trejo penalty and Formella. Okay, both Banditos, Bluebird, and Devin 2-0. Seems like they're going El Paso because they're not specifying guys. That's kind of tough, man. It's tough news there. I'm going 2-0. I'm going Rising. The good guys, obviously. Thanks for showing up, guys. But yeah, 2-0 for Rising. Give me Danny Trejo adding to his goal scoring tally. And Panos Armanakis, finding the back of the net. I feel he's due for one. He's due. Seeing also Charles in the chat. Max does know a thing or two about getting off the rails. You're darn right I do. Listen, I've got a lot. There's been a lot, right? This is an antagonistic kid. Y'all don't like it. Throwing a lot of shade. Reese, if you may. Over here, sir. Yeah, buddy. Because when a lot of shade gets thrown at me, I got to use my Shady Rays, baby. Shady Rays. That's right. They are amazing. They are premium polarized sunglasses and shades that are built to last. You can look darn good. They flow very nicely with this Spurs
Max,
kit.
you're not a good model for them. They're actually decent sunglasses, and you're currently modeling them with the Spurs kit.
Listen, maybe it dresses up the Spurs kit. Maybe for those who don't like Spurs, you can still get the shades. They're nice. Shady Rays, they are awesome. I've even been, if this camera were to zoom in, which do it at your own risk, but you would see these glasses. I bang them up a bit, but that's awesome because Shady Rays has a great policy. You can literally get a new pair, return them for free within 30 days, everything like that. It's fantastic. They have an amazing policy throughout the lifeline of their shades. Really can't get them better anywhere else. It's fantastic, right? They have premium, they have polarized, they have different styles. They even have like prescription ones, ski goggles. They got all kinds of stuff, but exclusively for you guys, because we like you guys, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal this season. Go to shadyrays.com. Use code PHNX. Again, shadyrays.com. That code on the screen. Or if you're listening on audio for your ears, PHNX, and you get 50% off 2, not 1, but 2 pairs of polarized sunglasses. You can try it for yourself and get the glasses that are rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. Oh, man. Yes, Going Man Pat, we are taking the ad man title away after that one. That is a lie. You can't do that. But Devin, new ad man.
Stop calling you ad man.
New ad man ad. See, listen, this is...
No, we don't call him ad man anymore. You're right. That transition was below even your own love standards.
Oh, man. I guess I'm just going to have to drink my sorrows away with some Four Peaks. That's right. Four Peaks, man.
Oh, God, it get worse.
Oh, man. Four Peaks is here to do
Max,
the job.
how are you turning me off of good beer at this point with your transition?
Stop it. That is a you thing.
It's good beer.
That is a you thing, not a me thing. No, but Four Peaks, always got the good stuff. We have a kilt lifter going. I'm drinking in sorrows, of course, with the Harry K news. It is tough. Block out there. I'm not going to even read that comment. Devin, get out of here. Four Peaks will help with everything like that because it's just a good time, right? They got the kilts, the wows. Shane is drinking a nice red ale behind the Mac over there. Get your hands on some... What?
It's not a red ale.
What is it then?
I'm drinking the stout.
Oh, I did give you the stout. Oh, that's my... No.
He doesn't even remember what beers people are drinking that he handed out.
It's the Holly beer. It's the salted caramel Baltic Porter. That's right. It does slap. Thank you. I'm sorry. I thought I gave you the red ale. That's my bad. But we do love Four Peaks. That's not their bad because it's good stuff. Check out Four Peaks on Instagram at Four Peaks Pub and at Four Peaks Brew to catch up with Arizona's local hometown brewery. Again, you must be 21 years or older to enjoy responsibly. All right. Well,
which way are we taking this, Max?
I mean,
the -1 or -2?
Yeah,
which way are we going?
Yeah,
it's,
no, we're going.
It's going to be a dark end to this.
We're gonna
30 minutes left.
We're gonna have to end a bit like reminiscently. So we're gonna go with a door number one. Door number one. San Antonio.
San Antonio.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, boy, yeah. So, obviously we spoke on Tuesday about this.
Yeah.
We spoke about the incident. Everyone kind of knows. Benitez now have publicly named the coach that they're accusing is San Antonio coach Victor Lonchuk. I will say this. There has been a comment today from San Antonio coach Alen Marcina. Let's have a listen to what he had to say to local media in San Antonio on that issue.
Yeah, I believe the incident in Phoenix was unfortunate to everyone involved, and the alleged actions don't align with the club's values. As a club, we have completed the internal investigations, and appropriate actions have been put into place. You know, there is racism doesn't belong in our sport. It is not tolerated at our club or organization level. Yeah, at this time, that's all I have to comment.
Are you at liberty to discuss what the disciplinary moves were? Or?
Yeah, I think it's falling in line with our club and company policy. That will remain private.
Okay, right. So, let's kind of break down some of that. So the key things that were identified there. San Antonio have completed an internal investigation into it. They have taken what was described by Coach Alen Marcina as appropriate actions.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't specify what those actions are. He doesn't specify what the outcome of the investigation truly was. He is still referring to it as an alleged actions, which, to be clear, if the investigation has turned up one thing or another,
Can't really call it alleged.
you'd
at that
imagine
point.
that they're not fully at that point just alleged, right? It's either the investigation believes that they occurred or they didn't occur, based on the evidence that is available. You then take it a step further and then say, okay, but racism is not tolerated, is what he says, which round of applause for the guy. Racism is not tolerated.
Good.
Well done.
What a guy.
Well done. There
What
we
a
go.
guy.
We have set the bar, guys. Racism is not tolerated. But it's just an incident that I think overall they've got to be more transparent over this. I don't know if part of it is because they're saying, well, they're waiting for the league outcome and all of that. But again, if there's a finding of any wrongdoing there, if there's a finding of any kind of wrongdoing by their coach in this case, I think you have to be transparent with that. Look, we need to be honest about what we are. You know, when you're a club, you're in that kind of a public eye, you have to be transparent about things like this. You have to be fair about the things that when you're going to talk about things like the club values, you can't invoke that while not saying anything of note in particular. What are your values? That's the key thing. We don't know. We can't judge you by your values.
Yeah.
What are your values? We don't know.
No.
Okay? We don't know. And look, I think there are two ways that you can go down this. If you find that he has indeed done what has been said, and what has been alleged has been said is reprehensible, if true. Okay? You either go down the one route, which is that you just part ways with the guy. And fine, you do that. I mean, you can fire him, or you can do the jump before you get pushed. I don't care.
Sure.
It's ultimately, yeah. Or you go the other way around and you deal with maybe okay, we're going to take the time to go through the educational stuff and all of that kind of side of things. If you're going to do that and you're going to try and frame it in the almost rehabilitative side of things, whereby it's okay, we hear it, but we're going to fix him, we're going to work on this, we're going to take appropriate action to make sure that these things don't happen again, and that he learns from this. You have to do that publicly. There is no space for doing that in private. To do that in private makes a mockery of your supposed values. Okay? Yeah. When you do that, it's a necessary step. Whether you think that's the way this should go or not, I'm sure everyone will agree. You can't have redemption without the public necessary step of admitting that you've gone wrong, actually going to the extent of apologizing to the people that you have actively offended potentially with such a comment. and then taking probably quite public steps on how you're going to fix things thereafter. You can't just brush this under the carpet. I'm sorry. What are your values? What are your values? That's the question for Alen Marcina. That's the question for San Antonio. And right now, their values only appear to be to obfuscate, to try and let this blow over, to hide the results of their own internal investigation in something that is a very public and very, honestly, quite offensive to some people issue that has arisen, not just to people in Phoenix, but also to people in San Antonio who can be just as deeply affected, deeply impacted by these kind of comments as we saw in Phoenix.
Mic drop. I mean, no, it's, I think it's one of those, it seems like the response is very much, it's straight out of like a journalism 101 class or something like that. And
that doesn't work anymore.
No,
I know what you're going to say.
And that's my point exactly. Is it's very cookie cutter. It beats around the bush. It says the lines of, we are taking the necessary step. You adhere back to your core values. It's everything that in something like this, if you are not going to publicly state the actions that you have taken as a club, and you are going to like, okay, we're not going to take that grand step, whether, it was pressured by the public or whether you felt that it happened or didn't have, whatever. If a major step isn't taken, whether it's a suspension, whether it's a firing, whatever that is, to then essentially then still double down and say it is alleged, it is, hey, we're resting on our club values, which, to your point, we don't know what those are. That's not stated. They keep on kind of piggybacking off of it's an unfortunate incident, but then denying possibly that doesn't happen. You can't have it both ways. You have to, if you are not going to share your actions, which that's a problem in itself, you either have to categorically say, like, we condemn racism and we stand by, like, these actions not happening, or if you're not going to deny it and fight it, then you need to take responsibility and own it. And they did neither. That's the issue here, is they were very much neutral in the middle, which in a situation like this, you can't have. And especially given what was happening, given that multiple people, multiple sources can corroborate this, that's the tough part of all of this.
Look, I am getting sick and tired of how many times we have these kind of discussions in USL Championship. I am getting sick and tired of the number of times that USL teams are not willing to hold themselves to account. The league is not willing to hold the teams to account. And these things just kind of happen. We move on. And a few months later, there's another scandal of some variety. We saw it happen in Loudoun. We saw it happen in New Mexico. New Mexico were out saying they couldn't find any evidence for any of this. Meanwhile, a local news station in Albuquerque has found the guy who complained to security at the time and said they told security these people were being racist in the stands, and they did nothing about it. Why is it that every time these kind of incidents come up, there's never any real resolution? We saw them somehow manage to bungle the whole thing last year with Tampa Bay Rowdies, one of their players that was initially suspended and then it got overturned. I agree with Pat that ultimately this isn't on Marcina necessarily to go out there and face the music over this. The team brass upstairs have to make the decisions that ultimately on things like this, and the team brass upstairs should be the ones who are coming out and defending those decisions. And I mean, they've given him a statement presumably to read in this case. That's what he's read, and that's kind of all he's allowed to say. But I just... Trust me, I am sick and tired of words, right? All it is words at this point. All it is nonsense again of these are our values. This is what we say. Okay, now back it up. Now go out and do something about it. Don't just tell us, do something. Be transparent. If you don't find enough evidence that this guy has done it, well, there's maybe a point. We aren't privy to all of the evidence. I wasn't personally there when this was said. Right. I can't say for a fact that it was said. But right now, what are they presenting? They're presenting a load of nothing. They've completed an investigation. What does it say? We don't know. They've taken actions. What have they done? We don't know. But you've got to trust them. You've got to trust them. And that's something that gets me. That's something that gets me in this league, right? When you look at the USL against MLS kind of comparison, you have to bring those two in. You have to think about, okay, how are you going to compete with MLS teams? Especially because you're in San Antonio. You're just down the road from Austin. You've got an MLS team not that far away from you. And you've got to say, okay, you go through things like, you've got, to stick with USL team community. What are you doing for your community right now? You just a brand? You're just hiding behind words? Focus on actually building bridges with people. Focus on actually connecting with people. Stop focusing on just, I just despair. I despair. Ultimately, just completely despair with this. It feels like something that's come out of the playbook of probably a brand like actually the Spurs, who ultimately own San Antonio FC, whereby they're looking at this from the perspective of a major brand. And San Antonio FC are not that. They have to connect with their community in ways that a major league team in this country per se may not have to do so. And if you're going to do that, you have to be transparent over issues like this that affect people not just in your community, but in other communities around the league. And again, I'm just sick and tired of USL never seeming to pass the test on any of these. And I've said it all along. As much as I may trust some of the people that are involved in the USL Super League setup, I am worried. I am incredibly worried when I see USL teams, USL League office that do what they currently do on all of these kind of incidents when they come up, that now they're going to be trusted with well-being in an area whereby there have been multiple failures in this country, in the professional game, not just in this country really, around the world, but in the professional game for years and years and years. How is USL going to step up to the task of that if they can't even handle things like this? We wait and see, of course, what USL's investigation has to say. We are yet to know what that will be. But again, it just feels like every time these things come up, I never feel satisfied. And it's why I don't personally trust that something satisfactory is going to come of this one. I don't think that San Antonio have said enough for someone that has said and claiming now they've already completed their investigation. We'll have to see.
Well said. Oh, well said, man. Yeah, I saw Benito's Bluebirds comment up there earlier, and essentially it boils down to you're waiting all this time for such a weak response. And that
harms it even more, right?
That's
a weak
exactly
response
what it
in the
was.
initial days, just we'll investigate and take it seriously, and then you dump all the word spiel afterwards. Yeah, I get that, because these things do take time to investigate.
Yep.
But how is it that they've waited till Thursday?
I think it's right. It's one of those things that's convenient. You wait for it to quote unquote blow over when not as much attention is on you. You are then already into the next match week, and here we are. And people think that these things just die out and that it's not worth our attention. And that's why it kind of rings hollow, the words that was said there. Yes, USL investigation. Curious what turns up from it. We don't seem too optimistic because kind of just given the track record, to your point, of really everything that's happened in recent memory, why would we be optimistic? So, yeah, definitely troubling times. Yeah, man, I know we've kind of talked at length. Is anything else you got on this one? Yeah, okay, yeah. No real way to transition out of this, and I'm not going to. Appreciate our friends at OG's Brands. They're definitely not going to help in a situation like this, but they do make you feel fantastic just in general, right? They got the creams, the fruits, indicas, sativas, everything like that. OG's Brands really just help to make life a little bit lighter, flavoring life. That's their whole spiel, everything like that. They got the strawberries and cream. They have the minis for those of you like me who maybe want something a little bit lower dose. Check out our friends at OG's Brands on Instagram, Twitter, really all socials at OG's Brands. And you can check them out online to find them at a local dispensary near you at ogsbrands.com. You must be 21 years or older to enjoy responsibly. And something that you do have to be enjoyed. Wow, words. You have to be 21 years or older to enjoy responsibly. When you go there, it's friends of Valley Tap Room. Valley Tap Room, right? If you're getting a beer, you must be 20 years older. And they have a lot of beers, right? They have delicious Four Peaks there. They have wine. They have a nice like wine liqueur slushy machine. They have all kinds of stuff, especially if you guys are out on the east side. They always have trivia. They have cornhole. They have like karaoke nights. We did watch parties out there. We're looking to do more watch parties out there. Like, it's always a good time. Donald out there, he's the freaking man. Check him out. Go there, saying what's up. He might buy you a beer. Can't confirm.
Max will buy you a beer.
Okay. Anyway, no.
Max is buying beer.
Check out Valley Tap Room on Instagram at Valley Tap Room, and of course, check them out in person off the 202 and Gilbert. Harry, appreciate you in the chat. Good luck Rising and beat El Paso. Well, if Rising's going to beat El Paso,
Give us a shout out as well, actually. Wayne Rooney.
Oh yeah, Wayne with Waine, DC United legend and current manager.
In the chat for some reason.
Yeah, that's
He also said that I
interesting.
was correct, so I'll take that.
Bloke on the right is correct. Yeah, that's sounds
Yeah,
about
man.
right.
Yeah. I'm thinking, because we're flipping it. Obviously,
Yeah,
I'm on
right.
the left sitting here.
It took me a second.
You're
too.
watching it on the right.
Well, also,
yeah.
I mean, the chat's been kind of hostile to me, so they're probably not giving me too much love. But someone we are going to give a lot of love to, we've seen the rumors. It's not really a surprise at this point. And while things are still to be finalized, it very much seems that long-time club stalwart Kevon Lambert is going to be on his way out and moving up, which is something, it sucks to see a player of that caliber leaving from a on-field perspective, but from a guy who has been admired by the club, who has spent a good chunk of his career here. Something really special, honestly.
Yeah. Look, I think that, just to give the context, of course, to this, yes, sources are saying that Kevon Lambert is on the brink of departing this team, heading up to a higher level. This seems to be in the works for a little bit now. He has, of course, missed the last few games. The official reason for that is injury. I'll leave that at the official reason.
Sure.
Today, when asked about the situation, Juan Guerra's comments were that the club is going to be putting a statement out at some point. He is not able to comment at this time. I think you can read into that what you will. But it sounds as though could be making the move up to MLS. Will be one of the options there. One of the potential suitors that I've heard bandied around is RSL. And worth noting as well, some people have been asking this one. I've heard this. There's things about such as the transfer windows. Obviously, this falling outside of the usual MLS transfer window. In this case, MLS's transfer windows, the way they're written, if you're making a transfer in the window, it's got to be because transfer windows are there for ITCs, international transfer certificates. So that's if you are traveling overseas, he doesn't need one. He's already registered in the US. Or for intra-MLS trades, of which this is not one.
Right.
So he could sign outside the transfer window. Look, at the end of the day, Kev Lambert, and this is the other one, I think, and shout out to Jake Anderson, actually. Discount Jake, who gave me this stat. But Kev Lambert signed for this team 6 years ago to the day.
Love that.
Today, on August the 10th. To the day.
Yeah.
And ever since arriving as a young man, he has grown up here. This club has shaped who he is. He too has shaped this club. He has shaped the future of this team, the way that they have progressed into a serious contender at times in this team, in this league. He is a perfect example of what you want out there. Someone who will give it his all. Someone who has been fantastic on the field. You look at the skill set that he's brought. I think we've been speaking for years about the fact that Kev deserved the chance at the higher levels anyway. So, not really a shock, I think, to any of us that eventually that call does come, even though we've seen in the past there have been players who are good enough who never made that jump. Look, I think when he does ultimately, when it's confirmed, and I think at this point it's a when, not an if. All the best to him, obviously, as he leaves. He is there's just been so many moments. It's just weird, though, to think that we may not see another flip after a goal. In a rising kit. But he's been fantastic for this team for years, and I think you can't understate just how much he brought and so many different systems here with different managers, and just how pivotal he's been starting as a defensive midfielder, moving back to a centre back. Yeah.
I mean, he very much equally talented at both. Incredibly versatile player, right? Good, always good for a goal or two.
Can I ask the chat a question, by the way?
Of course.
As Max gives his thoughts, but just to cue us up looking further down. Chat, tell us your favourite Kev Lambert moment. Just give it to us in the chat. We want to see what you've got to say. And yeah, Max, continue.
That was literally what I was going to ask the chat. That was literally verbatim. I was going to ask you.
His idea.
I was going to ask you, and I was going to ask the chat. No, but I mean, I'm seeing Reese comment, build the statue. No, I mean, I think, even you look at the profile of the player, just a guy who was rarely out of position, a guy when, even if, let's say, he his quote unquote bad game was, at worst case, sometimes it was a slightly below average compared to the average player. He had an incredibly high ceiling and a very high floor as a player, a guy who was a consistent heartbeat throughout the team. You always knew seemingly what you would expect from him. And I think really the transition too in this past season, going to center back, again, equally adept at both of them. He has been a major stalwart for Jamaica as well, even after some earlier years of just not getting that same consistency. But he's always been consistent for the club. I think it's just something very special, especially the opportunity, right, for when this season he was given the captain armband when Darnell King was not on the pitch. It's something where he started the season that way after especially Darnell went down in the season opener and everything like that. And it's something where you like to see a player like that rewarded for really just being that consistent presence against the community. See Jets comment, goal number 4 against San Diego.
So I've got
Wild
two.
Horse Pass home
I've got
opener.
2 on my
Yes,
own. That
please.
is one of them.
Okay.
Do you want to hear my other one?
Please.
You won't like it. So Kev Lambert, at the point where you thought Phoenix Rising were going to get knocked out of the playoffs in 2020, 2-0 down on the road.
Yeah.
I mean, Max will remember this one quite well, but who is it who I think just before the break gives you that little bit of hope if you're Phoenix Rising that you're going to find a way to come back?
Mm-hmm.
Kevon Lambert.
Yep.
Right when you need them. Yeah. I mean, I got him on pat this. I mean, he took over against Reno in the playoffs, willed the team back. He played a huge role and gets the goal himself in there as well. I think if he wasn't playing, I don't know if that team makes it out of that game. Yeah. I don't know if they come back.
Yeah. I mean, I remember even hearing the scouting report going up to that game. It's crazy how you think, you often are game playing against attacking players and, of course, very much worse so. But you just heard head coach, Ian Russell, he's very much keying on, okay, yeah, but, where's Kev throughout the pitch, everything like that. And it's just, it's fascinating how we're talking about a guy who's in the center of the park and he can very much take over a game by not even doing anything crazy. That's the thing. He was just he was consistent. I think he was never a guy who he pops off the page like, wow, look at this. But I think that's really what you want in a guy, I would say, who you know what you're getting from him. And you always seem to know what you're getting from him.
You do. That was him all along. And just, again, I mean, you actually look at that. He had the most touches of any player on Phoenix Rising's team in that game.
Yeah.
Most touches of any player in that game.
It was tough at the time, but you gotta respect the player. You do. It's right. I mean, I'm curious, and I know the chat's coming in with some comments. I'm curious, where do you believe his standing is in Phoenix Rising history? It's a tough one, man.
To me, I think there's a list of players who are legends at this club, I think. And I'm ignoring some of the Arizona United only people probably there. But so no, I'm not going to mention Longtan. Longtan is a funny meme, but I'm not sure I'd include him in the conversation. Solomon Asante is right up there. Mm-hmm. Kev is in that discussion with him.
I mean, he's on the Mount Rushmore without a doubt. There's zero doubt.
And I'd say probably elsewise. Because Didier didn't play enough. Didier is one of the best players, by far the best player to ever play for this team. I think I see the Kevin solo. I'd also be tempted to include, in some ways, Woz and Lubin as the other two.
That's fair.
It's all longevity in a lot of ways is what I pick this on. And the fact that they're able for years to... I think you're right. I think Kevin solo are at the top. And then just below them probably is Woz and Lubin. Yeah, I think is the top 4 if you're looking at it.
Sounds right.
I mean, people are saying here they think Kev over Solo. I'm intrigued that one. But you're right. It's those two. It's those two by far at the top. Who would you go with?
I mean, no. I honestly think 100%. It's definitely Kevin Solo, and I mean, I would even say give the nod to Lubin even in that like third kind of spot, even just based off of. Just the impact, especially like in playoffs, right? Guys seem to come up big, but right, this is we're not talking about Zach Lubin. We're talking about Kevon Lambert for a reason. I think it's interesting, and it's not a comparison, right? Because I think Seagull and Pat, I'd say it's Kevin Solo, both impacted the games majorly, just in different ways. I think Solo had the more highlight impact, the way he scored goals, the way he put attacking, threats on. And granted, that's his position. That's kind of the nature of it, right? The MVPs, everything like that. It's interesting, though, that when you look at where Kev stacks up within the USL, very highly regarded player, consistently even in this season playing a new position, was consistently rated one of the better defenders, was consistently rated one of the better midfielders when he was in that position. And I think it's one of those, I kind of do give, I'll say it this way. I feel that it was often Solo maybe was the heartbeat of the team. Kev was the soul of this team, in that he was always again, I go back to consistency. I go back to the way he silently sometimes impacted his games, but when he needed to come up big, he announced his presence in a big way. And just a guy who, I don't know, just very much universal. I haven't met people who think, poorly of Kev, either for the player or, the impact that he's had as a captain this season. It's something that transcends football in a way.
Something as well, I mean, I kind of hinted on this earlier, but it's worth noting again, Kev came to Rising very young.
Yeah.
I think this club has shaped him, but he too has shaped this club in a lot of ways. One thing that's interesting to me with him, his presumptive departure coming up, it'll mark the first time since the rebrand that Rising hasn't had a Jamaican player on the team. And partly that's because he's been here for so long,
Sure.
but so many Jamaicans have come and gone over the years.
Sure.
But there won't be a Jamaican on the team if Kev Lambert leaves. There is no other Jamaican on this squad.
That's crazy, man. It just feels weird. It feels weird.
That's been a weird side part of the club's identity for a while.
And it's
always had one or two Jamaicans on the team.
No, for sure. Well, and even the context of if essentially not if, but when Kev leaves, it's right. Oh dear gosh. Cardi B in the chat with the Bruce Arena avatar. That's something. That's a weird one. But no, it's kind of looking at Kev, right? Especially this season, how he moves.
Someone's tried changing their name and probably not quickly enough.
Probably not.
Change the picture.
Not quite great.
Yet recognized
not quite yet. No, not quite yet. Especially Kev. Going back in a new position this year, definitely a bit of a shift. How he has missed some time with injury, missed some time with the Gold Cup. It's kind of interesting knowing that he may not be here and he hasn't always featured consistently this season. Granted, certainly not due to choice, but due to other circumstances. It's just an interesting note to leave it on. I'll say that.
It is. In fact, in some ways, it's sad. It would mean, presuming he doesn't play another game, his last game is the Sacramento game, and that's a sad note to go on.
Yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. Well, something.
We've ended that quite sadly. Lift it up once more.
Well, no. I mean, a nice thought to think about, especially in the context of Kevon Lambert, is I have on good authority that Kev very much likes Circle K. He likes Circle K. I always enjoyed a nice Polar Pop. Really helps be refreshing.
Does he actually endorse this, or are you just making it up?
I'm not putting words in my mouth. I'm saying it's it's something that you might have heard. But no. Circle K. Yeah, of course. The official America's Thirst Shop partner of Phoenix Rising. Of course, how can you not love it? We appreciate our friends Circle K. They got the Polar Pops, they got the snacks, they got the beers, the lovely beers, everything like that. And if you text PHNX to 31310, again, PHNX to 31310, you don't get one, but you get two Polar Pops, price of one. Absolutely fantastic. Shout out to our friends at Circle K for giving us this little promo. And again, you guys in the chat, text PHNX to 31310. Do it. Twiddle those thumbs and fingers and digits and all that stuff. Very easy. And also something easy to do from your mobile devices or desktop if you're watching. Come a Die Hard. It's fun. We have all kinds of great stuff going on. You can sign up for Die Hard, get a free shirt. Right about when you sign up, you get a free shirt every year of your membership. You get 20% off all events, 20% off of all merch. We're always doing fun things. Rumor has it there's going to be a couple of promos coming up with our partners that are only exclusive to diehards. So another incentive for you guys to sign up. But again, we appreciate it because the diehards are legitimately a big part of what we do here, not only in PHNX Rising, but throughout PHNX. So appreciate everyone in the chat who are diehards. Again, if you want to sign up, go to phnxlocker.com to become one today. There's also in the show notes, you can sign up there. Whew, man, this is a very loaded episode. Kind of a downer. The second and third segments were something.
On the way down.
Anything we need to leave the people with before we then see them Saturday before El Paso, of course, with the pregame show, but also after El Paso here our post-game show.
Any final thought?
Yes, yes, of course.
Final thought before we quickly cut this show off. Let's see. What could I possibly say?
I don't like it. No, I know there's
What could I possibly say?
I will appreciate everyone.
Is it indeed?
No.
By the way, make sure to follow us on Twitter at PHNX __Rising.
That's what I'm getting there. Yeah, you can
make sure to follow him, Max David Simpson.
Yeah, that's it.
OJ Evans 18. And of course, we've got our producer Shane. Give him Shane's Twitter handle.
Shane Deef.
There we go.
Baby. You can follow the show on Twitter at PHNX __Rising.
We said that one because double the underscores, double the fun. And remember, as we get ready to sign off now, just remember this.
Wait, I don't like
Max is buying beers.
Wait, no, we don't have